With the 2023 MLS season officially 1 week away, it is time for the video we have all been waiting for, my MLS predictions. And get ready because these are going to be the most accurate predictions on the internet. And stick around till the end for my MVP and all awards predictions as well. The MLS is an extremely difficult league to predict, but I am an MLS journalist, so I'm going to kill this. I mostly cover LAFC, but of course, we're focusing on the Eastern Conference today. Starting in 15th and last place, it will be CF Montreal, last place guaranteed. They lost Milhalovic, they sold Kone as well, they sold Johnston, they even lost Wilfred Nancy to Columbus Crew, who was an MLS Coach of the Year candidate last season. Their striker Kai Kamara requesting a trade away from the team is really all you need to know about the situation in Montreal. It is dire, and they are 100% finishing in last place. You can book it now. Moving into 14th, I have the Chicago Fire, who also sold their best players in Gaga Slonina in goal to Chelsea and John Duran, their talented young striker. They let him go to Aston Villa. They brought in a ton of money, and they really didn't spend any of it. You finished last in the East last season, and unless you or Montreal decide to spend all that money you made, it's going to be a race to last place for the two of you. In 13th place, I have Charlotte FC, who many people have much higher, as they brought in Enzo Capetti to replace Daniel Rios and score the goals up top. But that's just a big question mark to me, and for me, they have a huge center back problem after losing Anton Walks, RIP, and Christian Fuchs, of course. They did bring in Toy Loma from Portland recently, but in my opinion, they way overpaid for that, and it's not going to be the solution that they think it is. There's just too many question marks. I don't think Capetti and Swiderski will be enough to really get things going in Charlotte. If Nuno Santos and Capetti can make a bigger difference than I expect, it might be a different story. But for me, 13th place is where I see Charlotte FC. In 12th place, and get ready for this one, is New York City FC. And this is absolutely happening because they sold Tati at the end of last season. It didn't really seem to affect them, but it's going to now because they have lost so many more. Of course, they sold Aber to Seattle, which is fine, but they also lost, and get ready for this, Sean Johnson, Alexander Collins, Anton Tinnerholm, Maxi Morales, Nicholas Acevedo, and Santiago Rodriguez, all for free. Talis Magno is not enough, and my friend Michele Giannone reported that they're going to put him in the 9, which I don't even think is his best position. And with CFG in control, if they realize that New York City are having a bad year and that's not the place for Magno to develop, they might just move him away. But on the same token, if they see that, failing mentality from New York City, they might start investing and spending some money to improve them. But as of right now, New York City are for sure going to have a very, very bad season that they are not used to, and they are going to finish in 12th place. Hey, if you're enjoying the video and want more MLS content from an actual MLS journalist, hit that subscribe button so I can make more videos just like this. Thanks so much, and back to the video. Finishing in 11th in the Eastern Conference, I have Inter Miami, and while Josef Martinez is a great signing, along with Campana and the rest of all those strikers that they brought in, they're probably going to score a bunch of goals. But I still see this team as rather disorganized, and I still think they're going to concede a bunch of goals as well. I do like the signing of Sergei Kristov. He seems like a no-nonsense center back that will get a couple yellow card suspensions, but they'll all be worth it in the end for Inter Miami. Yet still, I do not have confidence in that defense. I think that it'll be a case of scoring a bunch and conceding a bunch with Inter Miami, and so they are definitely in 11th place for me. In 10th is an interesting one for me because I do have New York Red Bull, and first the bad for them because they did lose their captain and best center back, Aaron Long, for free to the defending champions LAFC, who they have since not replaced at all. It looks like they're just going to go with Andres Reyes partnering Sean Nealis in that center back position, but for context, Reyes a couple years ago was loaned out by Inter Miami. So how much confidence should we really have in his ability to start at the MLS level? I don't think very much. Hopefully they sign somebody to help in that position because they need it. But the good news is that they did bring in Dante Vangier, who looks like a quality signing from Belgium, and they brought in a couple other strikers as well to make sure that those chances get finished on the counterattack for New York Red Bull. And while I do think they're actually pretty well set up for their counterattacking style that they love to play, of course, I just don't have a ton of confidence in their ability to sit back and defend for long periods of time, which they will certainly need to do to play that New York Red Bull style of play. And so for that reason, I do have them finishing in 10th place at the moment. Approaching those playoff spots in 9th place, I have New England Revolution, and if Vironi is that guy up front that they think he can be, then they will make those playoff spots. But I don't think that he is, and I don't think that they're going to have the finishing that they need to finish off those chances that Carlos Gil is undoubtedly going to create all season for them. And that is their downfall, because I do think that they're going to be pretty solid defensively. They're alright in that midfield. Obviously, Carlos Gil is one of the best creative midfielders in the league, if not the best. And so it's the finishing that is the question for New England Revolution. As we saw in 2021, things can go completely right for them, or as we saw last season, things can go completely wrong for them. So we'll see, but right now, 9th place is middle of the road, right where they belong. Just missing out on the playoff spots, and this will be a controversial one, I have FC Cincinnati. And they are going to switch formation this season to put Acosta in what seems like a true 10 behind their two strikers in Brenner and Vasquez. And that sounds absolutely lethal to me. The question for me, as far as their system goes, is how do they get the ball progression from that back line into Luciano Acosta? Because I don't see where that ball progression comes from when I look at their team on paper. However, that is not why I have them finishing outside the playoff spots. The reason I have them finishing there is because there's no way that both Vasquez and Brenner finish the season in Cincinnati. At least one, if not both of them, will be sold this summer, and that is going to cause a major drop-off for FC Cincinnati as they are looking to have that playoff push, and they are probably going to be in a playoff spot at that point, but everyone's going to be looking to take their spot while they have a dip in form. They're going to drop just out of the playoff picture and miss out probably on the last day of the season. Those of you who are paying close attention to this video at this point are probably wondering why I haven't named one team, and you're right, it is a big pick, but I'll say it. DC United are making the playoffs this year, finishing in 7th place in the Eastern Conference. You heard it here first, Wayne Rooney taking DC United to the playoffs. Nobody sees this coming but me, and I'm telling you it's going to happen because this defense is completely revamped. The only person who's going to return as a starter in that back four will be their captain from last year, Steven Birnbaum, but he, of course, is not going to be their captain anymore. That will be Christian Benteke, who's going to score goals and goals up front for DC United. I saw him in preseason score the winner against the defending champions, LAFC, in a 2-1 win where he played the full 90 minutes. He looks fit, he looks ready to go, and he was bigger than everybody else on that pitch, obviously, dominating physically. That's going to be a huge problem for defenders in MLS, and I can already see Wayne Rooney tactically taking advantage. Of course, they did lose Julian Gressel, which is a big loss, but I think Click is a perfect replacement and really more what DC United need than a creative player, somebody to control that midfield. He also played in that preseason game that I got to watch him in person. He played very well. He controlled the game. I think it's really going to be a good season for DC United that people don't expect. In 6th place is another big pick, Atlanta United and the Five Stripes going back to the playoffs, because I feel like people forget how good this team was with Miles Robinson, and he's going to return this season. They brought in a solid partner for him as well, and they are going to form a rock-solid center-back partnership in Atlanta. They also brought in Quentin Westberg to resolve that whole goalkeeper situation that was going on, and while yes, they did lose Joseph Martinez, that is of course a problem, they brought in Georgios Giacomakis from Celtic, who was, if you remember and watch the video that I made on which player that every team needs to buy in MLS, was my suggestion for them, because I think he's going to come in and absolutely smash it for them, scoring goals and returning Atlanta United into the team that we know, with Mercedes-Benz back to rocking once again. They are going to love this season, as they are going to finish in 6th place. In 5th place in the Eastern Conference, I have Nashville SC, and there really isn't a ton to talk about here because they didn't make a ton of changes besides, of course, changing conference. So I think they're going to do pretty similarly as they did in the West, as they'll do in the East this season, although I do think the East will be better than the West for the first time in a while. They, of course, have the reigning MVP, and in my opinion, the best defender in the league as well, so it'll be another solid season for Nashville, finishing in 5th place. The question for them is, can they reach a home playoff berth? Getting a home playoff berth in 4th place will be Orlando City, and I feel confident in saying that because they have such a clear and defined starting 11, and I love the ambition of Orlando City, who spent another $5 million on Martin Ojeda to put on that left wing opposite Facundo Torres, and that is just creating a ridiculously dangerous front four, of course, with Cara and Pereira. I also feel confident with that defense behind them, as there was overturn in that fullback position, but not at center back, and while they also have one of the best goalkeepers in the entire league. They're going to be solid in the back, they're going to score goals going forward, they're going to get a home playoff berth. Orlando City, 4th place. Moving into those elite few teams, in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference, I have Columbus Crew, and I'm putting them here assuming that they have a plan for that center back position after selling their captain Jonathan Mensah for pennies on the dollar. It has to be the weirdest transfer of this offseason, no question in my mind, so they got to figure something out there. But regardless, this team has goals in bunches, and Aiden Morris is a rising star in that defensive midfield position next to Darlington Nagbe. They will do all the defensive work, allowing that front four to wreak havoc on MLS defenses. And make no mistake about it, because bringing in a Coach of the Year candidate in Wilfred Nancy makes Columbus Crew a Supporters Shield contender. No question in my mind. It is a very exciting time to be a Columbus Crew fan. But for me, it won't be quite enough to finish in that first spot. So 3rd place for me. In 2nd place, I have the winners from last year, Philadelphia Union. And it feels weird not putting them in 1st place, but they can't win every year, right? They did lose Paxton Aronson, but they didn't really use him that much last year anyway, and there wasn't a ton of turnover, so I expect a very similar Philadelphia team and a very similar good season from the team. The reason I put them in 2nd ahead of Columbus Crew is because Philadelphia are a team that is built on defense and not conceding any goals, while they always seem to find a way to score those goals going forward anyway. Columbus are a team, they're just going to score a bunch of goals. I don't know how defensively solid they're going to be though, and so for that reason, Philadelphia get the edge into 2nd place. And finishing in 1st place, my predicted winners of the 2023 MLS Eastern Conference, Toronto FC, and there is no doubt about this in my mind. They are going to absolutely destroy the Eastern Conference this season. Just listen to these stats. Lorenzo Insigne has 6 goals and 2 assists in 11 matches. Federico Bernardeschi has 8 goals and 2 assists in 13 matches. Adama Diomande has 20 goals and 9 assists in 43 MLS matches. And Jesus Jimenez has 9 goals and 4 assists in 33 MLS matches. The current record for goals scored by a team in a single MLS season is 85. And you heard it here first, Toronto FC are breaking the record for most goals scored in a season. And then we look defensively, they signed one of the best goalkeepers in the league in Sean Johnson from New York City. They took the captain of FC Dallas in Matt Hedges to solidify their center back position. Bob Bradley is building an absolute machine in Toronto, and he always does well early on with teams in the MLS. That's his thing. Early on, he builds a project, they buy in, and they succeed in the first year or two. But then they fall off, he loses the locker room, and then he moves on. but it's early on with Toronto FC. He came in, he's starting to build that project. Now he finally has all the pieces in place that he needs. If you look, in Chicago, first year, he won MLS Cup. In LAFC, it was the second year, but it was the Supporters' Shield. And it will be the same thing in Toronto in Bob Bradley's second year, where Toronto FC will break the MLS goals record en route to winning the club's second ever Supporters' Shield. Alright, and with those Eastern Conference predictions out of the way, it is time to move on to my awards predictions for this season, and I decided to put them in this video because, spoiler alert, all of my awards are coming to the Eastern Conference this year. I think the East is going to be so much better than the West this season, and the awards are going to show it. I'm going to start with the big one in the Golden Boot, and the 2023 MLS Golden Boot winner will be Cucho Hernandez of Columbus Crew. When he was signed to Crew, I was absolutely blown away. I didn't understand why a player in their prime of that caliber was coming to MLS, because in my opinion, he is no joke good enough to play in the Premier League. In MLS, Cucho has 9 goals in 16 games so far at a rate of 144 minutes per goal, and he is absolutely going to have to improve on that, which I think he will. The Crew as a team are going to be very good. Lucas Zelarayan is as good as any number 10 in the league, and Luis Diaz is also a very creative winger, so they're going to provide him the assists. Cucho Hernandez is going to bang in goals all year, and he's going to go from Watford to the MLS Golden Boot, Cucho Hernandez. Next up is the Playmaker Award for the most assists, and this is not actually an MLS award, which is pretty disgraceful. It really needs to be. And the easy pick here is Luciano Acosta. He won it last year, but I won't pick him because, as I said, I do believe Brenner and or Brandon Vasquez will be sold in the summer, and that's going to hurt Luciano Acosta's chances. So I will pick Lucas Zelarayan, again going to the Columbus Crew, because Lucas Zelarayan is going to continue to form a brotherhood with Cucho Hernandez in Columbus, and you might as well build them a pipeline, because I could absolutely see them becoming the next Miguel Almiron and Joseph Martinez of MLS, where it just becomes those two running the show. Zelarayan had the 3rd most key passes in the league last season, and now that he's had the time to gel with Cucho, they're just going to have a ridiculous partnership. Get prepared, because it's going to be goals and goals all season from those two in Columbus. Good luck, Eastern Conference. Back to real MLS awards, the Newcomer of the Year, basically the signing of the year, in my opinion, will be Georgios Giakoumakis, the new Atlanta United striker that they brought in from Celtic. I think he is going to bang in goals, and they are not even going to be fazed by the loss of Joseph Martinez. Goalkeeper of the Year, I really don't even think that this needs to be talked about. It's Andre Blake. It's him every year. He is the best goalkeeper in the league. Philadelphia have the best defense in the league. He's going to keep the most clean sheets in the league once again. It's Andre Blake. Duh, obviously. I'm sorry that we even have to talk about this. On to Defender of the Year, and I really wanted to pick Kai Wagner here, who absolutely deserves a Defender of the Year award, but I don't think fullbacks are even allowed to win this award. They need to get more credit. But it's not going to happen, so I have to go with the boring pick, Walker Zimmerman of Nashville SC. He is, in my opinion, the best defender in the league and is going to win it for the 3rd time. He's won it 2 out of the last 3 years and is going to win it 3 out of 4 after he wins the 2023 MLS Defender of the Year. And saving the biggest player award for last, of course, the most valuable player, the MVP of the 2023 MLS season, for me, will be Lorenzo Insigne of Toronto FC. He is just going to tear up the league. I didn't predict him to win Golden Boot or Playmaker because I don't think he's going to have the most goals or the most assists, but I think he's going to have a bunch of both and will have the most goal contributions in the league. He's going to be the key man, and Federico Bernardeschi is going to be his sidekick all season. In an incredible year for Toronto FC, Lorenzo Insigne is going to tear up the league. He has all the support. They love Italians in Toronto. He's going to have the fan base behind him. He's going to feel loved. Everything is just set up for him, and he is going to lead Toronto FC not only to a supporter shield, but to his MVP trophy. And of course, as I just said, Toronto FC will win that supporter shield, so let's just move on to the big one, MLS Cup. Last year I predicted LAFC to be the winners, and hey, look at that. This season, the winners will be, once again, a first-time winner, Philadelphia Union. Congratulations, you're going to finally win your first MLS Cup that you deserve after getting beaten last year in penalty kicks by LAFC. This is your year. You won't win Supporters' Shield, but you're going to get into the playoffs. You have the best defense in the league. You have probably the best coach in the league. It is your time this season to win the MLS Cup, and I see it absolutely happening. So Philadelphia Union are your 2023 MLS Cup champions. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like and subscribe button because the MLS season is just getting started. See you next time for my Western Conference predictions.